Understanding Procedural Coding, a Work Text, Chapter 18, Eye and Ocular Adnexa, Chapter 19, Auditory System and Operating Microscope. So we're going to begin our discussion, our presentation on Chapter 18, the Eye and Ocular Adnexa. And basically we're looking at procedures on the eye and in the eye area. You're going to need to review your anatomy of the eye. Your book does give you a brief overview of that part of the body and the different parts that make up that particular system. On page 371, figure 18.1 gives you the front view of the eye. Figure 18.2 on page 372. According to my textbook, you may have a different page number, but it is figure 18.2, lateral cross-section of the eye. So you may want to keep going back to refresh your memory, especially as we do discuss some of these different areas that procedures are going to be performed on. All right. Now, looking at the coding manual, if you can flip to the section on your eye and ocular adnexa, it follows the nervous system in your coding manual. And you will notice that if you just kind of flip and do a brief overview, you see you got sections for the eyeball, your anterior segment of the eye. I'm just flipping over. These are your sections in red. Your posterior segment of the eye. Your ocular adnexa, and then you have a section for your conjunctiva. All right, and that's the makeup of the format for the eye and ocular adnexa. So we're going to start with procedures completed on the eyeball, which begins with your code 65091. And the first procedure being done is for the removal of the eye. So, and you see, you notice a couple of new terms here. Maybe you know them, maybe not, but it's in those coding descriptions. It says evisceration, enucleation, extenuation. That's 65091, 65101, and code 65110. So what are those? Your book brings out that an evisceration on the eyeball means removal of an organ. Your enucleation means to remove without cutting into the structure. And then exenteration, it means the surgical removal of the contents of a cavity. All right, and then figure 18.3 in your textbook actually shows an example of an enucleation. So you can take a look at that. So under removal of the eye, that's the procedures you find there. This is followed by secondary implant procedures. And in this section, it talks about procedures with using an ocular implant, right? And then it mentions in that notation right above, below code 65175, talking about for orbital implants, and what codes you need to use for those, which are different from your ocular implant. Your book brings out to you that an ocular implant means that that implant is performed inside the muscular cone within, while your orbital implant is done outside. The implant is outside the muscle cone. Okay, so you need to make note of that. So under secondary implant procedures, you see insertions, reinsertions, removals, and so forth. Then the next section of coding or procedures is for removal of foreign bodies from your sternal eye or intraocular area. And then right below that, you have a section on repair the laceration for your conjunctiva and your cornea. Right? And if you notice there, interesting, there 65272, 65273 without hospitalization, with hospitalization. So that actually affects the code. we don't usually see that happen there. You also have under there repair of a wound, 65290. Now that wraps up that section on procedures completed on the eyeball, and then it takes us to procedures completed on the interior segment of the eye. Okay, if you don't know what is components of that interior segment, then your book lists it out for you. This will be a time you can go back and look at your figure 18.2. It tells you for your interior segment, that's going to include your cornea, your interior chamber, your interior sclera, your iris, ciliary body, and lens. All right. Again, figure 18.2, you can actually look at where those particular areas are located. So we're going to have procedures on these sections of the eye. These are the types of procedures on those different areas that we just mentioned. Under your interior segment, you see incision codes, excision codes, removals, destructions, repairs, revisions. The same thing we are used to seeing. If you look there, on the incision, the excisional lesions, like for example your cornea, destruction of lesions under removal and destruction. You have there under there as well something called keratoplasty, which is basically a corneal transplant, which is something you probably have heard before. So you will code your corneal transplant under your anterior segment of your eye and your ocular adnexa section. Basically, when you're coding in this section, you will notice is differentiated about whether or not the procedure was completed for aphakia or pseudophakia. And you can see that in your coding there. You have them in parentheses. You also have a backbench preparation for a corneal transplant, which is an add-on code. That's your 65757. And let's see. Did I get ahead of myself? I hope not. You also have some other type of repair procedures under other procedures. That's your 65760 through your 65771. Okay. I hope I didn't go too fast here. Let me go back to my slides. Okay. So following your cornea, you got interior chamber. Again, same type of procedures. Your incisions, your removals, and those nothing out of the ordinary here. Removal implanted material injection procedures for your interior chamber. You got your interior sclera, you got excision procedures for that. You got a shunt, ocular shunt under your interior sclera, repairs and revisions of wounds and so forth. Then you got your iris, ciliary body, incisions, excision, your iridotomies under your incision, your iridectomies under your excision, repairs of the iris. Nothing out of the ordinary, as I mentioned before. Your destruction procedures, bifocal coagulation, diathermy, any of those type, approaches into destroying different things there. Destruction of lesions, that kind of thing. Lens. Now this is where I can move forward to my slides. Sometimes I get out of order with the slides. Under your lens section, which is under this interior segment, this is cataract removal. This should be this is a common procedure in terms of removal of cataracts. You see that in a lot of older individuals. In those code sections, these are differentiated on whether that cataract was secondary, the type of cataract that was removed, the type of cataract removal, whether it be extracapsular or intracapsular, but your book explains to you what that is. If it's an extracapsular extraction, they're removing the lens without removing that posterior capsule. If it's an intracapsular extraction, it's the removal of the entire lens with the capsule. So if we're looking at the type of cataract removal, whether it's extracapsular, intracapsular, and the removal of lens material according to the type of technique. These is what's going to differentiate your cataract removal codes. There's a small section following your cataract removal codes that's called other procedures, and you only have 2 codes listed there. That's going to close out this section. You have an add-on code, your 66990, use of ophthalmic endoscope, and then you have an unlisted procedure code, your 66999. For your anterior segment of the eye. Now that will close out your anterior segment, and it takes us to our posterior segment, procedures on the posterior segment. And when we're looking at posterior segment, refer back to your figure 18.2, we're looking at the vitreous, your retina, your choroid, your sclera, and then you got the other procedures section. So try to keep up moving in your manual as well as your text. Now, under your posterior segment, it starts off with the vitreous. And you got a couple of different types of procedures on the vitreous. Removal of the vitreous, aspiration of the vitreous, injection of a vitreous substitute. It's in here, severing of vitreous strands and adhesions, a vitrectomy. You have that there as well. Then the retina, your procedures on the retina, you have repairs for retinal detachment. And there are different approaches to reattaching that retina. And your book tells you that if there are several approaches being used during that same operative session, then the principal modality should be the therapy reported. So the principal modality would be the therapy reported if they're doing multiple approaches. But like I say, there are several ways they can go about doing a retinal reattachment. They can do scleral buckling. They can do photocoagulation, just a couple of different things. So you have to look at that in terms of your code selection, in terms of the retinal detachment. So that's like the bulk of what the type of codes you're going to see on the retina or choroid. You can also see a section here for prophylaxis for retinal detachment, and it's broken down by the type of therapy being used. Then you got some destruction codes for destruction of lesions of the retina and the choroid. You see that there. You have a picture there right above 67108 showing how they use the scleral buckling for repair of a retinal detachment. Then you have posterior sclera. You have 2 codes there for scleral reinforcement, one with graft, one without graft. And then you have an unlisted procedure code, your 67299, under other procedures. That's going to wrap up that section for your posterior segment, and that leads us into procedures on your ocular and your adnexa. On your ocular adnexa, you have procedures on your extraocular muscles. Basically, those muscles are what makes us be able to move our eyes in different directions. And so when we have issues or something going on that deviates from what that muscle is supposed to do, then you have this strabismus surgery, and and there are different pairs of muscles that are responsible for that movement of our eye. Most of your codes are going to be for unilateral procedures in this section, as well as when you're looking at assigning codes, you got to see the number of muscles that they did perform surgery on in order to determine your correct coding. All right? So you see a whole lot of that. Strabismus surgery, with your muscles of your eye. Okay? And you have a unlisted procedure code for your ocular muscle, your 67399. Then after that, you have codes on the orbit. You got your orbitotomy, you got fine needle aspiration, you got injection procedures for the orbit, orbital implants. You got for insertions and removals. You got optic nerve decompression procedures. And then you got some procedures on your eyelids. That's your blepharotomy, your canthotomy. Under your excision and destruction, you got excision of the chalazion, which is a tumor. So they're excising a tumor, and it's based on whether it's a multiple single lid, multiple different lids, is the way those codes are differentiated. You have excision of lesions, destruction of lesions for the eyelid, tarsorrhaphy, temporary closure of the eyelids is under that, construction of intermarginal adhesion. You got repair codes as well. Your repair codes are differentiated according to the type of repair and the site of repair. All right, you got a couple of reconstruction procedures for your eyelids as well. Your reconstruction procedures, you see suturing procedures, removal of foreign bodies, reconstruction of the eyelid, and then you got unlisted procedure for the eyelid. This is followed by procedures on the conjunctiva. Okay? Again, figure 18-2. If you need to remind yourself of where that's located, it's identified in figure 18-2. Now, under procedures completed on the conjunctiva, you got incision and drainage code, incision and drainage assist. Then you got excisions and destructions. You got your biopsies and incisions and destructions of lesions. You got one injection procedure for your conjunctiva. Then you got some repair codes for your conjunctivoplasty. And that follows up with other procedures. And your other procedures, you have about 4 codes here. One for conjunctival flap, harvesting of an allograft, and then you have a unlisted procedure, 68399. Finally, you have procedures on your lacrimal system, where your tear ducts and all those things. You got incision and drainage in that area. You got excision, close, and biopsies for the lacrimal gland and the lacrimal sac. Removal of foreign bodies is also there. Excision of tumors. You got your repair codes for your lacrimal ducts and glands. Dacryocysterostomy. So you got to really wrap your tongue around the long-term terminology. You also have a conjunctival rhinostomy. Those are all under your repair. You got closure of your lacrimal punctum, also in this section. Closure of fistulas under your lacrimal system procedure code. Then you got some probes and other related procedures. Probing of the lacrimal duct type procedures, or dilation of lacrimal punctum with or without irrigation. Those are all under that section as well. Now, you have one other procedure code for your lacrimal system, HIM2253C, and that closes out the conjunctiva section as well as the entire eye and ocular adnexa system of coding. This is preceding or what's following, or the auditory system is what follows the eye and ocular adnexa, and we're going to cover that as well. That's your chapter 19 on the auditory system and operating microscope. So if you just keep flipping, once we left the conjunctiva, you will see your auditory system. And your book again does a good job of giving you a brief overview of your auditory system and those different parts that involve the auditory system. If you look at how this is set up in your coding manual, it is broken up by your external ear, your middle ear, your inner ear, and then there's a section on temporal bone, middle fossa. Okay? So we're going to begin with procedures on the external ear, and it starts with your incision codes, so your incision and drainage for your abscesses, hematomas, and then you have, if you notice, it's broken up on, especially the first code, your 69000 and your 69005 is differentiated by whether it's simple or complicated. The complicated has a lot to do with if it takes an extensive amount of time for cleaning the area and those types of things. They're documented, and it will support a complicated 69005 code. Now, under your excision section, you have biopsies and excisions for your external ear, and a radical excision as well for lesions and those types of things. Then you have removal codes for removal of foreign body, removal of earwax, cerumen, debridement as well, following under your removal code. You have 3 repair codes. You got your autoplasty, your reconstructions of the canal, and then you have an unlisted other procedure. On other procedures, you have an unlisted procedure for your external ear, 69399. Procedures on your middle ear is next, and it starts off with your introduction code, and you see your capitalizations or your station tube under the introduction, and then you have incision codes. You got your laryngotomy, your ventilating tube removal, your tympanostomy, also under that section as well. You have a picture of a tympanostomy right above your 69436 code. Following your incision is your excision code. That's your mastodectomy are there. You have resections of the temporal bone as well there. And then that follows by your repair codes. You got revisions of the mastodectomy. You got tympanic membrane repairs, your laryngoplasty, and your tympanoplasties are all under your repair. Revision of a stapedectomy is also there. Repairs of fistulas is also there. Under your other procedures for the middle ear, you got closure of fistulas, implantations for hearing devices, decompressions of facial nerves, sutures of facial nerves on the other procedures. And then you have your unlisted procedure code for the middle ear, 69799. Procedures on the inner ear. It starts off with incision and your incision codes and your destruction code. The labyrinthotomy is in here because, you know, in your inner ear, that's where your labyrinth is. You got fenestration and revision of fenestration codes. Under your excision, you got 3 codes. You got your labyrinthectomy is one of those. And under your introduction section, your 69930 is your only code there for a cochlear device implantation. And then under your other procedures for your inner ear, you have your unlisted procedure code, 69949. Now, this follows by a small section called your temporal bone middle fossa, right? And you have a couple of codes here for vestibular nerve section, total facial nerve decompression, removal of tumors, fall under that for your temporal bone middle fossa. Then you have another procedure code for this same section, 69979, under your other procedures. Now you have a add-on code under your operating microscope there in green. It says microsurgical techniques requiring use of operating microscope listed separately in addition to code for primary procedure. And so basically with this code, you're going to add it to a lot of these procedure codes we have in this section, as well as other sections. If they make use of an operating microscope, this will be documented in the record or in the report, and so we will use this add-on code. Now, we won't use it if the operating microscope is part of the procedure, and again, your coding document, your coding descriptor will let you know if that code is going to include that operating microscope. They use this for magnifying or enhancing visualization. However, if that's all they're doing with the microscope, you're not going to use this add-on code for that. All right? You'll have notations in terms of how you need to use this code or whether you need to use this code. All right? This is going to conclude our discussion on your eye and ocular adnexa, as well as your auditory system and operating microscope, chapters 18 and 19.